What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And we had the official data download for the start of the anniversary right here, right now. You can see that we do get, indeed, a free multi-pull on the Sugo-Fest, which is featuring all the new characters. So some lucky people out there are going to actually pull these new characters for free, which is so wild. So wishing you guys the best of luck. May 11th to June 17th is when the banner is going to be up for. So make sure to log in once during that period and get your free multi in, because why not, right? But in terms of the actual Sugo-Fest itself, there is something that I did want to point out to you guys. Now, at the very center of the screen, it says the 9th anniversary grand finale of Wano Super Sugo-Fest Luffy Part 1, and that does scale to Luffy Part 2 and Luffy Part 3. So this is the Luffy section of the 9th anniversary. Now, I feel like that means that there's going to be additional parts later on, with likely additional characters, maybe a Sanji part, maybe a Zoro part. I think that'd kind of make a little bit of sense. But anyways, there are a couple of other things that we need to talk about. I already made the videos today talking about Luffy and Yamato and Oden and Toki and going through all of their abilities, but now that we have the data download, we can see some other things that we didn't actually get to see before. Now, one of the big things that we need to talk about here is the solo captain effects of Luffy and Yamato, because it's actually pretty good in terms of what they're able to provide. So when you go ahead and start off as Luffy, he's a strength free spirit fighter, which is what we already knew. Yamato being a dex striker free spirit, you know, pretty much what we thought. But have a look at this solo effect of Luffy, okay? So most of it is the same, HP is the same. He doesn't have the recovery boost. I think Yamato might have the recovery boost. Either way, -2 cooldown, -1 to the other classes. And then he boosts, oh, that's actually interesting as well that I'm really just noticing. He boosts strength and free spirit by 5x. Everyone else gets 4.5. And then the slots are the same. Can obtain recovery with perfects, removing 10 turns of bind. But then the sentence right at the end reduces this character's switch effect use by 1 at the start of the crew's next turn after the character defeats an enemy. And this is massive, because this was one thing that we're noticing, that with their switch effect, it requires 8 swaps to get their super switch, which is very difficult to get. But if you can just continuously kill something every single turn, you're passing turns but also gaining these levels of switch. So you can switch and kill something every single turn, so gaining two swaps a turn is pretty wild, allowing you to reach that threshold much quicker. And you know, it's actually cool that they have that, because sometimes you don't want to switch with this character, because as we saw with Luffy, he only boosts strength and free spirit by the massive multiplier. It's not a big difference, but it is interesting. And then we move over to Yamato. Yamato, she does have the recovery boost, the 1.2, and she only boosts dex and free spirit characters by the 5x, 4.5 to the other ones, 25% damage reduction on Yamato, whereas Luffy has the recovery consumption. And once again, every time you kill something, you get -1 to your switch. Now, it doesn't mean that if you kill 5 things in one turn, you get -5 to your super switch. I'm pretty certain it doesn't work like that. Even just in terms of the wording here, reduces this character switch effect used by 1 at the start of the next turn after, oh, actually this is a bit different as well. After receiving damage, I completely didn't even read that. That's crazy. Okay, so this is a bit different. Okay. So they just work a bit differently. So Luffy, you have to kill something, but with Yamato, you have to tank hits. I guess that's actually kind of cool too, because you can actually do it in different ways, where you can gauge it in such a way where, like, you know, even if you start as Yamato and then you like super switch into Luffy, but even you can just start as Yamato, tank a bunch of hits, and then right before, you can actually, you know, gauge it. You can switch into Luffy, and then, you know, kill something, get it to max, and then super switch back over to Yamato. So there's really cool ways that you can use this character to get the super switch, but also switch so that you get this character to become the character that you want it to be. Whether you want to super switch into strength or super switch into dex. And then, of course, you have the switch effect itself, providing the Wano slot, providing the utility effects, and the 2.5 color affinity to free spirit, and also combining into the dual unit to get access to the buffed version of the special, giving you all of these beneficial effects. So this character has a very interesting playstyle with the new mechanic where you can become the dual unit just by activating this super switch. Very, very interesting way to use this character. Another thing that we can briefly see is the final tap. We can see the additional levels, and we see the first 3 levels of the final tap Sugo special are absolute garbage. It doesn't get really good until you get level 4 and level 5, where you get access to the % damage reduction based attack boost. But of course, the condition is pretty strict, and in a lot of normal content, you're probably not going to see this. But I think in Super Boss Kizunas, you'll probably actually end up seeing this because of the usage of characters like Legend Nami and also Legend Robin that fit really well with this character, honestly. But either way, that's kind of just the additional breakdowns that we had to talk about for Luffy and Yamato, because those additional effects on those solo captains really make a big difference as to how this character performs in content. I did talk about it in my video initially breaking the character down when we only saw the dual captain, that because this character is kind of like a speed farm captain, it doesn't actually work because you need to stall for their super switch. But if you can gain their super switch a lot faster, it makes the character a lot more viable. We can also have a look a little further into Oden and Toki, and when we have a look at their solo captains, you've got, pretty much what we expect: 5 times captain with a 1.1 boost, where I believe in their dual captain it was a 5.25, yeah, with the 1.1 boost. And I mean, the rest of it is pretty much the same. This character provides healing and stuff like that with the less boosts, so you see how it works. You've got Toki, which gives you more healing. Odin gives you more damage. In the dual form, you get both effects activating at the same time. And then, of course, there is the super tandem effect. So at level 1, so most people are going to have theirs at level 1. You need 3 of the characters on the list, and it only provides a 1.5 boost, so it's obviously not that good. And then until level 3, it doesn't really change much, where instead of having 3 on the list, you only need 2 on the list, but 1 additional slasher, which is not that big of a deal, because that's fine. But it's only a 2 times attack boost. At least at level 3, a 2 times attack boost, that's actually not too bad. Level 4, you get access to the 2.25 boost and buffing the color affinity. And then at level 5, you get access to the better condition requirement, where you only need 2 on the list rather than 3 on the list, or 2 on the list with a slasher, and you get the 2.5 attack boost with the buffed color affinity. So at level 3, this character is actually a lot better for sure, but at level 5, the Super Tandem is a little bit more accessible. The rest of this character's kit is exactly what we expected it to be, but of course, 7 swaps for this character's Super Swap is a lot. It is going to take you a very long time to accumulate that. The effect that it gives you is actually pretty good, but 7 switches is a bit ridiculous. So let's actually talk about the brand new rare recruits that are coming alongside these anniversary characters with Luffy and Yamato and Oden and Toki. The first one here being a brand new Usopp, being a quick shooter-free spirit. Captain ability doesn't really matter. The special effect, 10% health cut, removing 6 turns of attack down. That is very, very good. We actually see it's a bit of a theming in this batch. A lot of the characters' utility you see with these specials removing 6 turns is very strong, but it does get me a little concerned as to what kind of content is going to be coming out with these characters at the same time, because if they want you to use these characters against the new content that eventually releases, there aren't a lot of characters that can straight up just remove 6 turns of attack down. That's a really odd number. A lot of the time, there's a lot of 5-turn or 4-turn removers. 6 is very uncommon, and if that ends up happening in the content, it could be very difficult for those that don't end up pulling here, but hopefully that's not the case. Either way, it does say that if the enemy is immune to delay or all status effects, you get a minus 20% strength, dex, and quick resistance to all enemies for 1 turn, which is good. Otherwise, if they are not immune to delay or status effects, you get a delay on the enemy for 1 turn and a 2 times delayed conditional boost. I think Usopp's special is okay. I think in a lot of cases, you'll probably just use him to remove 6 turns of attack down. I don't really see too much happening after that. So it's not terrible, but it's another shooter character with Barrier Pierce, which is obviously very good for Beckman and Lucky Roo. As for his crewmate ability, removing 5 turns of blindness, and also he sets his own slot to Wano at the start of the quest. That's actually pretty good. And then we have his support effect, attaching only to Zoro and Nami, and this is also a weird theming with this batch, where the characters that you see with these rare recruits, they only attach to very specific Straw Hats. And it doesn't actually make a lot of sense a lot of the time. Like, the fact that he attaches to Nami kind of makes sense because Usopp and Nami were together quite a lot during the Onigashima raid, but Zoro doesn't really make a lot of sense here. As for what the effect does, boost damage to delayed enemies by 1.5 for 1 turn, and reduces the supported character's cooldown by 1 at the start of the final battle. Bit of a weird support because you have to apply a delay in some other fashion, so I'm not a big fan of the support effect. I think Usopp is honestly like just okay. The next rare recruit is Nico Robin, who is a Dex Fighter Cerebral, no real surprises there. Captain ability, nothing too great. The special effect is going to remove 6 turns of damage reduction, which is the Rainbow Shield buff, and also remove 6 turns of decreased chain multiplier growth rate, as well as locking your slots for 1 turn and giving you a 2.25 times attack boost for 1 turn for Strength Dex Quick. This character special is also just kind of okay. Removing 6 turns of Rainbow Shield is fantastic. Removing 6 turns of Chain Reduction doesn't matter that much because there's so many ways to get around it. Obviously, because it's Robin herself, she gets access to Treasure Map Legend Crocodile support, which attaches to her and removes 3 turns of Chain Reduction when you're inflicted with it, as well as giving you a Chain Boundary. But literally activating any Chain Lock or Chain Boundary kind of offsets Chain Reduction anyway. So removing that doesn't help that much. If this was removing Chain Locks, this might be a little bit more useful. It also gives you an Orb Lock, which is never understated. Like, Orb Locking is a very powerful mechanic. And just an attack boost too. Like, it's not a crazy attack boost, but it's definitely a usable one. So, not terrible. As for her crewmate abilities, it makes both Psy and Int slots beneficial to the crew, which is actually pretty good, making those 2 type slots matching, especially if you are using Luffy and Yamato as the captain. Be Strength, Dex, Recovery Tandem, Psy, and Int, so only quick slots are non-beneficial, so that's pretty crazy. And the other cool thing about Robin is that she does have hunger removal and she does have fear reduction, so being able to keep those Sailor effects up for longer is always good. As for her support, attaches to only Sanji and Brook. This one does make a bit more sense thematically with where Robin was in the arc, obviously saving Sanji with the help of Brook as well. And it makes Psy and Int slots beneficial to the crew for 1 turn and reduces the supported character's cooldown by 1 when you reach the final battle. So that support could be actually useful depending on the content, but I think it is honestly a little bit niche. Final rare recruit of the batch is the new Nami character, and this is the one I'm most excited for. I think this Nami is very good. Strength Striker Cerebral with a captain effect. It's pretty similar to what we've seen before, but her special is actually really cool. So it removes 6 turns of burn and 6 turns of special bind. That is exceptional for a rare recruit, as well as changing her own slot into Wano, which is also pretty nice. And if the crew has a base attack boost when you launch the special, it increases it by 300. But if you already have a base attack boost, well, that you get that buff. But if you don't have one, then you get a 1000 base attack boost to Strength, Dex, and Quick for 1 turn. There aren't a lot of rare recruits you can use that just generate you 1000 base attack just like that. But on top of that, getting such a good utility here is fantastic, as well as having the crewmate ability to resist 6 turns of special bind as well, and then also just boosting base attack for the captains, which that's not very important, but overall that special is exceptional. Slot bind reduction for her as well as recovery bind, and then her support, it only attaches to Usopp and Chopper. Usopp makes sense, but Chopper for this Nami doesn't really make a lot of sense, so that's kind of strange honestly. And it reduces the cooldown of the unit by 1 and removes 2 turns of that character's special bind when you reach the final battle. So I think that's actually a pretty cool effect too. It is a little dependent on what kind of crew you're running, but like Legend Chopper, for example, the Christmas Chopper, you can have this support on that unit, and if you get inflicted with a lot more special bind than you were anticipating, this support will help you remove some of that. So I guess this one has a little bit more use than some of the other supports, but Nami's actually pretty good. And then, of course, the Sugo-Fest itself, right? So you've got part 1 of the Sugo-Fest, which is the official debut date of the anniversary on May 11th, 1900 PST time. You have part 2 of the Luffy Annie, which is debuting on the 12th, and part 3 on the 13th, so they are one after each other. Now, part 1 of the anniversary Sugo-Fest is going to have Luffy and Yamato as well as Oden and Toki together on the same banner, but you'll see that when you go to part 2, which is the day after, Oden and Toki are no longer present, and then if you go to part 3, the Luffy and Yamato character are not present together. So you really have to pick and choose on where you want to do your pulls here. And then we can have a look at the steps, right? So for part 1 of the Sugo-Fest, rate boost, legend, 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 and then you get a rate boosted legend on the 6th. Then you've got rate boost, and then the 9th multi, all wanted post is 50% chance to have a legend, which is pretty cool. 10th is another rate boosted legend, and you got a another rate boosted on the 15th. 19th multi, 50% chance for every poster to be a red, and then the 20th multi is a Super Sugo-Fest character. But of course, if you go all the way to the 30th multi, this is part 1, the official day of release. Limited pull, Super Sugo only on the 30th. So there isn't a guarantee to get Luffy and Yamato on part 1 of the Sugo-Fest. I think the rate should be half decent at least to get them, but if you are really concerned about whether or not you're going to actually get Luffy and Yamato or not, then you can wait to pull on part 2, being the day after. Now, at this current point in time, we don't know exactly the pool of legends that are going to be in parts 1, 2, and 3, so it is a little hard right now to confirm which part is the best part to pull on. I know a lot of people are still opting to not pull, which I completely understand. They want to wait until the end of the anniversary period to really decide where they want to use their gems, and I completely get that. But you've got part 2 here, which at the 30th multi does guarantee you the Super Sugo-Fest exclusive Luffy and Yamato. And the steps along the way are a lot worse. So that is the trade-off here, is that you are guaranteed them eventually, but the steps are not as good. Obviously less legend guarantees, but you've got a limited pool legend on the 5th, which I guess that's actually pretty cool. You've got a super limited on the 10th. 15 gives you nothing, but then you got a Sugo rare on the 16th. Odd that there's nothing on the 15th there. The 20th, a super limited Sugo rare, but then yeah, 30th gives you the Luffy and Yamato. But if you are feeling a little different and you want to go for the Oden and the Toki, they are guaranteed on 30th multi of their part, which is pretty ridiculous. I probably wouldn't suggest most people to do 30 multis for Oden and Toki. I don't think they're really that worth it, but definitely a nice unit to have, especially for Rumble. I think in Grand Party and in normal Rumble, they're actually going to be pretty good. But anyways, that's all the information that we have in regards to the Sugo-Fest and the rare recruits, and of course the new legends. Now, of course, Pirate King Adventures is the new game mode that's going to be starting very soon on One Piece Treasure Cruise on May 11th, 1900 PST time. And with that, we get the introduction of a new free-to-play character, which is this brand new Goldie Roger. Now, Roger is a quick slasher free spirit, and his captain ability is interesting. -1 cooldown, 3.5 attack, 1.3 HP, quick slots matching, and if you hit in the order of good, great, and then perfect, shout out to those guys, you get a 5.25 times attack boost. So for a free-to-play captain, actually not terrible. But then you have something that is kind of interesting with this unit with his special. So it gives you removal of 2 turns of bind, which is nothing crazy, heals the crew by 5,000 HP, and the special gives you differing effects depending on the number of times that you use the special of this unit. So the more times you use it, the better special you get. So the first time you launch it, you get an 800 base attack boost to slashes. Nothing great. The second time you launch it, 800 base attack boost to slashes and extend the duration of base attack boost by 1 turn. Again, nothing really that good. The third time you launch it, you get 800 base attack boost, extend the base attack boost by 1 turn, and further add 200 to the base attack boost for 1 turn. So essentially, when you continuously launch this over and over again, you'll be able to get like a 3-turn, 1000 base attack boost to your free spirit characters. Or slasher characters, should I say. So, like, the special isn't that great, but when you think about it, the way that this character works is kind of crazy because you do have to use it a lot of times, right? A 15-turn cooldown is very steep. But then when you look at his potential ability, he has a new version of double special launch, because this is called special double launch, and you can see at the bottom when it's maxed out, up to 2 times per quest, reset this character's cooldown to max. So you're able to launch this character special 3 times per quest, which in total gives you 6 turns of bind, 15,000 HP healed, a 1,000 base attack boost for 3 turns if you use all 3 specials back to back. So it's okay. It's not a bad special. It's nothing really amazing though. It's just okay. He does make all type slots beneficial to himself, makes quick slots beneficial to the entire crew, and his support effect is just a base attack boost, which is nothing amazing. He does have his Pirate Rumble kit, giving buffs to strength, dex, and quick. And his special's kind of interesting too. It is a little high, but it does give an attack buff to the crew, and also does have the ability to inflict halve attack to high attack enemies for 10 seconds. So that's actually kind of cool, but overall, that is the brand new free-to-play Roger that we get access to by completing the Pirate King Adventures game mode. In addition to Pirate King Adventures, we will be getting Chopperman Missions dedicated to this new game mode, and with that, it gives us pretty similar rewards to what we've seen with the turtle farming event. Additional, turtles by completing the missions, and it says collect 320 rainbow turtles, so there is still that, that mission behind the curtain to really just continuously farm these rainbow turtles as much as you can. Each one you collect in this new game mode will count towards the Chopperman missions. You get access to these green tickets, the adventure tickets, which you're going to be using to exchange for items in the shop, which makes perfect sense. And again, as I said, they're pretty typical rewards: legend tickets, level limit break wanted posters. There are additional ones down the bottom here. There's some blitz battle stuff we'll talk about in a moment, but every time you clear, as you win a Pirate Rumble battle at Pirate King Adventures one time, you just get a bunch of additional tickets here by completing these missions, more limit break materials and stuff, so that's pretty cool. But the other thing that's going to be starting on the 19th of May at 1900 PST time is the brand new Blitz Battle, Pirate Alliance Blitz Battle featuring Kaido. So this is pretty cool, and we're going to get more information on it soon, but obviously the new batch is going to be boosted for this. And you're going to be able to farm some new limit break materials. You're going to be able to pick up this brand new Kaido character, which is actually pretty good. So shout out to Solaris, who is the guy who runs the One Piece Treasure Cruise database. He was the one who actually was able to mine the information for the brand new free-to-play Kaido. Now, one thing to note about this Kaido is that this is only the 5-star version. He eventually is confirmed to be super evolving to a 5-star plus, which means that the effects that you see here are the base effects, and he's only going to be getting better, which is so cool. So he's int driven powerhouse, but he has super type and he has final tap, which is pretty cool for a free-to-play unit. This unit with his captain reduces his own cooldown by 3 turns. Int and driven get a 1.5 health boost, a 4 times attack boost, and boost their attack by 4.5 if they have a Wano slot, which is pretty cool. So, trying to generate those Wano slots could be difficult. And it says that he does typeless damage to one enemy at the end of the turn based on the number of perfects that you hit during the turn. So this is very reminiscent of V2 Sakazuki, Sugo-Fest exclusive. Very, very similar stuff, but he's focused on boosting int and driven, not just int and strength. So a pretty cool captain, honestly. His special is really good, actually. Int damage to random enemies 10 different times, changes his own slot to Wano through block, and he boosts driven characters' attack and orbs by 2.25 for one turn. The way that I see this is he's kind of like a nerfed version of Versus Kaido. That's the way I look at it, which is kind of interesting. And then his crewmate ability, that's not a very good one. His super type, you need one of his characters, one of his crewmates, King, Queen, Jack, or one of the Toby Ropo. And the effect, -2 cooldown to himself, 1.75 increased damage taken to all enemies, and int becomes super int. It's actually a very good super type, especially when you consider that he is free to play. In terms of the other effects, he does have his final tap, and you need to have an int or a Wano slot on him for him to activate it, and all it does is give him 750 base attack bonus, which is not really that great, but again, it might get buffed when he super evolves to his 5-star plus. And the support effect attaches to Jack, King, and Queen, and once per quest, if they use the special, boost powerhouse and driven attack and orbs by 1.5 for one turn. Such an incredible support effect, especially once again when you consider that he is free to play. Very, very good. Attack and orb boost to 2 different classes is just when you use a special on Jack, King, and Queen. Really good character. So with all of that, that is finally going to conclude the video. So there's lots of information, but there is more to talk about tomorrow, because tomorrow at news time we should get, all of the information in regards to the Sugo-Fest, in terms of who's going to be available in which part of the Sugo-Fest, but also additional stuff such as gem sales, maybe potentially additional campaigns. There will be more news tomorrow. So anyways, that is going to wrap it up from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.